Press B to cancel. The only podcast that has more WTF and OMG moments than Sinistar has high school nicknames. Today on Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to Press B to Cancel. My name is Chardmonk. I'll be hosting the WTF episode of this week's episode. I'm just going to double that up with 2 episodes. You can totally tell I planned this whole thing out.
Sorry, you too.
With me, as always, is the absolutely incomparably beautiful werewolf. Sir, how are you on this fine Pacific Northwest evening, sir?
I am pretty damn good, sir. Thank you.
And again, the effervescent and beautiful sick Jake. Welcome in, sir. How are we doing up there in the great white north?
Quite literally, I am sick, Jake, this week, but I'll do the best I can to mute my coughs.
You know, I really appreciate that you really go with that moniker. Like you just sell it. There's no, you wait until you're sicker than a dog, and then we just come out roaring. I love it.
It's
way to stand by the name. And Sinistar somehow came in, even the door was locked. I don't know what he's doing here, but hi, Sinistar, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, and we have a special guest.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Love
that. The Sorting Hat is here.
It's William Shahatner.
Respect.
It's Nahi Gryffindor. Anyways, YouTube, don't ban us for that. Gentlemen, we had a very lengthy discussion this week about what we were going to talk about. And we had a lot of OMG moments as we discussed what the plans were. And I think this is an excellent platform to discuss what we discussed in a discussion with 3 discussing the discussion about WTF moments. Yes, we're going to talk about WTF moments in video games, both mostly current. There's been a lot of current stuff that we've done together. WTF moments are stuff that when you're playing the game, your eyes basically pop out of your head. You're like, oh, God, I did not expect that to happen whatsoever. And we've all had a few. And I think the 4 of us has come up some really, I'd like to say, powerful WTF moments as we've played through the separate games that will be discussing today. I want to warn the audience, the people on the podcast, and the people that aren't watching but are listening when we do post this up, that there will be some very heavy spoilers throughout this episode. So if any point there's a game that we mention that you don't want to hear about, we'll try and signal you in some way, shape, or form and try and give you a length so that we can say skip.
You'll see it
this
right
far ahead or something. And we'll have like a little sign. Well, if they're listening, they can't see it, but we'll try and make it some kind of audible.
Timestamps in the description. I'll do my best to
Perfect.
do that for you guys.
We'll put timestamps up so that way you can skip ahead and you don't get any spoilers from any games that you may want to play. A lot of the stuff has been around for a little bit, but we're not going to pull the whole, this game's 40 years old, you should live up and deal with it now. It's, maybe you want to be surprised by it.
We are also going to try to stay on topic per game where, we meander normally. So tonight or today or whenever you're listening to this, we'll do our best to stay on the game on topic so that we don't go spoiling something else.
I'm just going to go on a limb here and just say you picked the wrong host to stay on topic for anything. So this is your fault.
Well, spoiler alert, our first game, I think, involves staying on target.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Way to loop that around. Apparently, I'm not hosting anymore, but that was well done. Sinistar's not wrong, though. A very famous line coming from the movie franchise. But somebody else will be talking about it. Werewolf, why don't we just dive right in? Why don't we dive right in and you talk about your WTF moment, one of your favorites that you have played in the recent years of gaming?
So it's not super recent because this was about when the game came out. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Now, when I was playing through this, it had probably been out for maybe 6 months to a year. So there was some time between its release and me playing it. So of course my buddies were like, have you seen the twist yet? Have you seen the twist yet? And I was like, I'm guessing no, because I have no idea what twist you're talking about. And so that's all I knew was there's a major twist, right? And I'm playing through it and I get to this point where all of a sudden, like you go through the whole game, Bastila, the Jedi who you're working with through most of the game, she's just a total meanie to you the whole time, right?
She is.
She's
really mean to
basically
you.
Regina George toward the main character the whole game. And yes, we watched Mean Girls last night, so that's
I
fresh.
see
in my
that.
brain.
Wednesdays we use Force Pool.
And the whole time I'm like, what the hell is up with this lady, right? And you go through the whole game and everybody's like, wow, you're really taking to the Force so quick, right? And then you get the big reveal. The main character you were playing as was previously a major Jedi general and then went Darth. So he was the big bad. And then I guess they used a Force memory wipe on the guy. And so when you get this reveal, I'm just sitting there. At the time I had a very my bedroom was big for a kid, right? So like I don't know, it was like 14 by 10 or some nonsense. So it's a really long room. And so I had TVs and a couch and video games across the room. And then I had the corner where my desk with my computer was. My brother was on my couch playing the PS2, I think, something like that. And I'm sitting at my computer playing this, and this big reveal comes in, and I'm just sitting there going, oh shit. And I'm just totally dumbfounded. I keep saying, oh shit, over and over and over as this registers for me in my brain. And my brother's across the room going, what? Like he's getting super interested in the fact that I keep repeating, oh shit, probably like 5 or 6 times, just super slowly and in total awe. And then when I explained to him what was up, he was like, okay. Because he just did not give a shit. But to me, it was pretty funny that's what followed the moment immediately. But holy crap, that was a great reveal. And then the game, like after that, everybody I told all my buddies and everybody else was like, okay, just wait till you see the second twist. And I was like, the second twist? What the hell? How are they going to beat this? And they don't really beat it, but they do give you the option to sort of feed your character's storyline with how Bastila treats the character throughout the game and let you once again choose the dark side, which is just totally awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that twist with the way that the twist was, and it was so sudden. It was holy crap. This is the whole thing. And then it still gives you the option to go right back to where it was at the beginning. And with the way the game played out, you can manipulate people's feelings towards you throughout the entire game, which I always thought was a really cool spin. But then to be able to be like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going dark. We're going dark side again, and then you can go back and do that whole twist. I really thought that was a cool twist.
So correct me if I'm wrong, because I played this on the OG Xbox. So however long ago that was, probably 2000, 2001, something like that. You're like, if I remember right, there's like a good bad meter, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
It's like a light dark meter, yeah.
Yeah, each thing you do is like light dark, like you can affect that meter. And when I played it, I specifically decided to do light, tasks that push that light meter up and that light meter up. And then that twist came in and I was like, oh shit. Well, I mean, I said something. I'm being nice for YouTube, but
I wasn't. I already said it like a dozen times, man.
Well, I was like, I was actually a little upset. I was like, mother, I was trying to be good. And it turns out I'm the big bad.
I went with the redemption story. I just was like, you know what? People can change after they've completely lost their memories.
Oh, no.
Oh, I did too. But when I was thinking about this, it occurred to me, I think it would be less enticing to do that if they didn't have a good character feeding animosity to the player the entire game. Because, I mean, when HK-47 does it, nobody cares. It's hilarious. He's just a mean
favorite
robot.
character in the whole goddamn
But when Bastila does it, you're like, what the hell is wrong with you, lady? Why are you giving me all this shit? And so I think without her, fewer players would have taken the dark side again. You know what I mean? And I didn't, but these days playing through the game, I probably would, knowing nothing about it, just because of how Bastila treats the main character. Like they're
Right.
putting all their hopes on making you a good guy again.
Right.
But the entire time she's just nasty to you. And so when you finally get the option to go dark side, you know, I might just be like, all right, screw all you guys. I'm a jerk again.
I'm a jerk again. I'll give you a reason to be an asshole to me.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
what
see
Anakin
you at the
said.
dumpster behind Denny's.
Oh, wow. Jeez. I did enjoy that. That's I like that twist was such a literally a blindside coming up where they're like, oh, the reason she's a jerk to you the whole time is because you've been the asshole for this many years. And we were hoping that
Yeah.
this would change your opinion. And you're like,
Like-
oh, fuck. Okay, cool.
She's
I don't
totally
know.
got good reason to treat you the way she does.
Right.
You're a
But
super
knowing
bad guy.
nothing because you have amnesia, you're just you I mean the player it's hard to top that feeling going into a game as
Mhm.
the player representing the character as more than literally the character has amnesia, so you know as much about everything going on as your character does.
They designed the story really well to make you sit
They-
there and go, why is what's going on? Like, why are these bad guys like kind of nice to me and this really good person a total biatch to me this whole time? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then, and then they hit you with the twist. Very good plot spin.
Yeah, I like the spin in this game a lot. Like BioWare is one of my favorite RPG companies from that period. I mean, they could do no wrong back then, honestly. And some of the stuff they do in KOTOR is kind of like the groundwork for Mass Effect and later franchises.
Mhm.
But KOTOR has the twist, I think, for all of them, right? And nothing in Mass Effect, I think, comes close to this Darth Revan reveal in KOTOR. I really like how they did it, and it was very impactful. I picked it up on the Switch last month. It's hard to get back into this game nowadays, but I wanted to try it again because I wanted to go back and play through the story because I remember the story being so good in this game. And this is definitely a good like WTF moment. Like when that happened, that flip happens, it's so good. And for the record, in these games, I always go the asshole route first. I always play the absolute evilest person on the planet because BioWare was one of those few companies that let you do that. They actually gave you all the dialogue and a choice for that. And playing the dark side in this game is fantastic.
I have tried to play it, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I referred to this game when I played it. And I loved it. I played the story through. But I referred to this game as Hall Monitor. Because that's really what it is. Is you're just like, I can't tell you how many halls you run through in that game.
But you're on Tatooine. There's no halls in the desert that you can see, Mr. Gorbachev.
But there seems to still be some sort of like, force you into it. Yeah, anyway.
It's called
Yeah,
what's it called? Natural direction. It's called a sense of natural direction.
Level design, damn it. Come on now.
This is a game I've been wanting to go back and play. I've had it on Steam for quite some time. I think there was that year when Steam did their first big Christmas sale thing with the coal and all that. I traded all my coal for games, and this was one of those games I got.
Did they just recently re-release? It's not like a remaster, but they like re-released it or they cleaned it up or something in like a box set, I thought, for
They're
one of the
working
consoles.
on a remaster, aren't they?
So there's
They
a
might be.
remaster on Switch and Steam where they did polish the graphics a little bit. And then the
Mhm.
Steam version is going to have KOTOR 2, and it's going to have the fan-made DLC actually added soon for
Yep.
free. So that's kind of nice to play.
Oh,
That's why
wow.
I bought it on Switch. But November and Chad is talking about the remake. They're actually doing a ground-up remake. And he's saying, fingers crossed they won't ruin it. Maybe they will. We'll see. I mean,
Yeah, right. Don't hold your breath.
there's never been a
quick
bad
aside,
remake, right?
Quick,
Never.
Quick aside, not a spoiler at all, but I was reading today that Black Mesa, which was Portal 1 made, or sorry, not Portal 1, Half-Life 1 made in Half-Life 2's engine.
Mhm.
I read a title where now there's a group that wants to make Black Mesa in Half-Life 1's engine.
Yeah, I heard of the demake. They're
All the
gonna
rage, man.
demake the remake of the demake.
That's great.
Yep.
That's
That's
a WTF.
odd. Remakes don't make sense with games like that. Like
that are already demade.
you can't just go to an earlier engine to demake a game. Like it's got to be a big step down, right? Like
I want a
just making an
pixel
ugly graphic
remaster
and-
demake of Final Fantasy 1 with the SNES graphics or the NES graphics.
Atari, yeah.
Yeah, with Atari.
You can only move two directions instead
Can
of
they
four,
remake damn it, that ET? Can they remake ET? Let's get a remake of ET.
Can they demake Final Fantasy VII Remaster? Wait.
They can just get rid of it. That's my personal opinion. Sinistar, what about you? What's your recent or maybe not so recent WTF moment?
Yeah, mine was during the Xbox 360 era. It's a game I've talked about in other podcasts because I do love it. But it's Batman Arkham Asylum. And it was kind of one of those. I mean, I think that there were moments like this in the past, but it's kind of one of the first memorable moments for me where the game kind of turns itself on its head, right? You're playing there are moments where Scarecrow hits you with his toxin. And there's three moments. Each one's very cool. Because it treats it as you're still playing, but things are weird, things are odd. Like in the first one, spoiler warning, folks. I'm giving another spoiler warning. This is for Batman Arkham Asylum. But in the first Scarecrow moment, like Commissioner Gordon is dead, and he's actually not dead because it's the Scarecrow, neurotoxin. But anyway, fast forward, you're now on the third one, and the game acts like it crashes. It acts like it crashes, and it crashes back to not the title screen, but the intro video before the title screen, where you see the Batmobile. You hear on the radio that they've caught the person. They're going to Arkham Asylum. This is replaying the very beginning of the game, except for now the Joker is driving the Batmobile, and Batman is the one that's in the passenger seat, kind of huddled and muttering to himself. Continue on. It then goes. I love this bit. It gets to the title screen where you see the spotlight with the bat symbol, except for now the bat symbol is upside down and it has two eyes, so it looks like a Joker face. So anyway, you then click start the game.
Can I say
it
something?
Starts the game over. Yes.
I just got to say. So I loaded up the video for those watching the video podcast. And when I did the crash video, I swear to God, Sinistar, I thought the YouTube video was garbled and messed up. So I paused trying to figure it out. I mean, you know me, how I treat our podcast homework with reverence, and I do all my homework. Clearly I didn't for this game, because that caught me really fucking hard. I can't believe that that's part of the gameplay.
I saw it happen on here, and he made the face. And I was like, no, let it go. And he just skipped it ahead. I was like, oh.
So now we've had the what the fuck moment in the podcast.
Yeah, it works so well. We saw it here.
So good.
Yeah. Anyway, so then it replays the beginning of the game, but instead of the Joker being strapped into the the chair or whatever that's rolling along, it's now Batman. And the asylum is under the control of Joker. He's actually the warden and stuff like that. And then the culmination is it gets to the point where it cuts to, instead of third person, it's now first person. You're Batman in the chair. You're strapped in. And Joker says we should start this off with a bang. And he pulls out his gun and he shoots you in the face. And it says game over. And my favorite is every time you get a game over, there's a little text that gives you a hint of what to do. And I love this. It says, use the middle stick to dodge the bullet or to dodge his gun. There is no middle stick.
There's no middle stick.
Yeah.
Right? So then, you click continue, or, you go on, and it ends up going into then the kind of the standard Scarecrow scenes where it's a third person view, and you're kind of doing these little like It's almost a platformer, a side-scrolling platformer for a little bit, but it shows you basically busting out of the ground with a headstone. So you're now a zombie. And yeah. Anyway, once you finish this whole piece, it comes back to you've been injected with this neurotoxin. But neurotoxin? I don't know. Probably.
I gotta play this game.
Yeah,
It's wild.
no,
fantastic.
Arkham Asylum is a really good game. It really is.
Yeah.
It's been years since I've played it, but watching the video and hearing you talk about it, so sorry, I was reminded of that whole scene of now you're playing the Joker, or the Joker's now the main character, and everything gets totally flipped upside down. And I remember the glitch, and I remember going, "What the hell's wrong with my Xbox?" and all the stuff that went along with it, or my PlayStation, or whatever I got. But it's a good twist. That one's definitely. I love the scarecrow moments in the game. It's very, very well done.
Now, this sounds like it's expanded on multiple things from another game that came before it.
I was going to mention it, and I'm thinking you're going to bring it up, but go ahead.
Is Eternal Darkness?
Yes.
So Eternal Darkness does a couple of things like
on
this,
the shelf, right behind Optimus.
separately, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've not played Eternal Darkness myself. My an old friend of mine. That's the easiest way to describe it. Old friend of mine, he played through it, and I saw him play some of it, and I saw some of the weirder moments, including the system reset thing, which is what I initially thought about.
Did you see the system reset with the erasing your save data?
Ooh.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, there's a system reset in Eternal Darkness that comes up and it's like erasing save data, and you're like, no, cancel, and it goes ahead and does it acts like it does it anyway.
Wow.
And then of course it glitches back into the game, right? But yeah.
I've not played Eternal Darkness myself either.
Well worth playing. And by the way, it was one of the few GameCube games where it was actually polygons, and so if you play it on a or true polygon, so if you play it on an emulator or on a Wii, it actually upscales the polygons. You actually get better video out of it.
Now I gotta wonder: is the same company that did the Batman also do Eternal Darkness? Or there's some kind of
I think
relation
Eternal
to
Darkness was Rare, right?
Okay, so Eidos, yeah.
Rocksteady was
Rocksteady.
Rocksteady, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Rare that did. It's behind Optimus, or else I'd grab it. But that one, by the way,
I've got the internet at my fingertips. I could also look it up.
Yeah,
no,
I'm currently doing it. Oh, it was Silicon Knights.
Okay. Yes, it was. Because I had the weird Cube Silicon Knights logo at the beginning. Anyway, if you do play that game, by the way, you need to play through it 3 times to get the true ending. And it's actually cool. The replayability is actually valuable. While it does a lot of the same things, it does them differently because you choose different Elder Gods. Anyway,
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that also was kind of like, as you brought up, Wolf, that's very akin to this moment in Batman where it trashes the game, acts like the game's trashed, and starts you over. So
yeah.
Deleting save file. Oh, I would lose my freaking mind.
That's crazy.
I would absolutely snap.
No,
see Jake shaking his head. I couldn't handle that.
Sadly, some of the WTF moments in Eternal Darkness are lost on modern hardware. Because one thing it does is it brings up a little volume slider and it turns itself down. And if you're not playing on an old CRT, that doesn't really look the same anymore.
Right.
Yeah, because it was those big, bright neon green bars with the little squares as the volume goes down.
And sometimes it has bugs crawling across the screen. Once again, if you're not on a CRT, it just doesn't look quite right.
Right.
But there are definitely other sanity. It's your sanity meter. When your sanity meter gets too low, the game starts messing with you.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Might be something we talk about later.
So sorry, we went off the rails and spoiled a second game. Sorry, folks.
We'll put that in there twice.
Well, yes and no. There's still plenty of things in Eternal Darkness for people to see if they go play it. And I don't think we spoiled anything story based. So
No,
Fair.
it is a fantastic game, by the way. If GP was here, I actually did he had his little retrospectives. I did a retrospective for his stream based on Eternal Darkness.
Nice. Very nice. Jake, do you want to talk about yours, or how do you want to do that?
Sure, why not? So I only have one,
Okay.
so bear with me. I didn't do all my homework, I'll just chalk up to being
You've
sick.
been kind of busy.
Yeah, in the move and everything. So the game I chose, and I've spoken about before on the show before, is BioShock Infinite. Like to save that. There you go. I'm not normally into the BioShock franchise. I have not played the first two, but I did play Infinite in a certain time in my life when I just had a baby, so it was very impactful for me. The gameplay may be a little bit generic, but there's enough WTF moments in that game that were just crazy to me. And just the opening scene when you first get on Columbia, this floating sky city, and it's like straight out of the 1900s. Everybody's wearing, suits and hats and dresses, and that's floating steampunk stuff. Barbershop singing songs. Sound familiar? Yes, it's the Beach Boys. They took a lot of modern songs and put it in the game as Easter eggs. Small WTFs. There's a scene right near the beginning where there's a raffle, and you don't really want to take part, but you do. You grab a baseball from a bucket in 77, and there's a stage and a guy in a top hat doing a show, like vaudeville something, and they pull out the raffle, and he says, "Isn't that the finest white girl in Columbia City you've ever seen?" And you're like, "What?" And then he pulls out your number 77, and he's like, "You're the winner. Come on up, young man. Come up and take that ball." And then they pull back the curtain, and they have taken an interracial couple and imprison them on stage. And basically, they want this crowd to throw baseballs at this interracial couple. And that is when this game is like, what the fuck? And then you realize that Columbia it's a tough and hard, and a video game especially. It is rare that video games tackle things like racism and prejudice. And in BioShock Infinite, Columbia is a society built on racism and prejudice, and it's a terrible dystopian place. And you get that in the first few seconds. And just after that moment, like, you have a choice. You can either throw out the couple, or you can throw out the presenter. And of course, you throw out the presenter. But before you do, your hand is stopped by the police. And one of the police pulls up his hand, and he's got like a handheld, they call it a sky hook, and it's a melee weapon. And it's a set of whirling blades you use to ride wires throughout the levels. And he goes to take it against you, and you grab his hand and you basically shove his face into it, and blood splatters everywhere. So in the first 10 minutes of this game, you get shocking racism and prejudice in front of you, which you don't see very often in games, and then just glorified graphic violence. And that's this game. And it's so odd how impactful that is in the first few minutes. So that was like the first WTF moment for that. But I want to talk, and I apologize, Wolf, because you were playing, I think, this game. Did you end up finishing it?
I beat it.
You beat it? Okay.
I finished it today.
Okay, good.
Okay, so you know the moment he's about to talk about.
Yeah,
I do.
Because in this game, I thought it happened earlier in the game, but I was watching it today and catching up on it, and it all happens in the last few minutes of the game.
It's at the very end, yeah.
Yeah, but the couple things there. One, you're playing Booker DeWitt. You're a former Pinkerton, a Union strikebreakers detective, I guess. And throughout the game, the theme was like, give us the girl, wipe away the debt. And you think that your main goal is to basically kidnap or rescue, however you want to think about it, this lady named Elizabeth trapped in Colombia, and bring her to New York. But there's a few hidden things throughout the game, like she's missing a finger and whatnot, and just some of the relationships with her parents, Comstock and Lady Comstock, kind of develops as you play through the game. But there's a scene toward the end of the game where you find out who she actually is. And when they say, bring us the girl, wipe away the debt, they flash back to a scene in his office away from Columbia years earlier, where this guy's like, you have a baby in your office, and you look at your baby, and the guy's like, give us the girl, and your debt is white clean. Basically, this character is, you're selling your daughter to this guy. And it's just like shocking. And then he kind of goes back and realizes, no, I don't want to do it. I want my daughter back. And he chases down into an alleyway. And as the baby and the bad guy's being pulled through a portal, the portal slices the finger off of the baby, and it flies towards you, the screen. And you realize then that the baby was Elizabeth. You sold your child, and you tried to change your mind and you couldn't. And somehow BioShock Infinite is a story about you going to rescue your grown-up daughter. But it gets even weirder. Like the bad guy throughout the entire game is this guy named Comstock. Biblical prophet, religious nut job. You name it, that's him. You later find out as you go through the game that he's actually the last sequence of the game. You find out that there's a battle in the past, the Battle of Wounded Knee, where the main character took part in. And after that battle, he had a lot of trauma, a lot of PTSD. And there's a scene, a flashback where he's basically in front of a priest in some water and he's getting baptized. He chooses not to get baptized and he leads the life where he sells his daughter to this guy. But this game, BioShock, is all about alternate universes, alternate mirror dimensions, right? Things where one small choice can lead to a different path. And there is a path where Booker, the main character, does get baptized, gets baptized, wipes away his past, starts clean, full-on religious, and the name he chooses is Comstock. So at the very end of this game, you find out that you are actually the mirror version of the bad guy Comstock. And what was really interesting to me about this is the voice actor for Booker and Comstock completely different. So it's very difficult to realize that's what they're going to pull out at the last fucking minute. Like if they had the same actor, I think it's Matt Mercer for Booker. If he's playing both roles, I would have seen it coming.
No, I think it was Troy Baker.
Troy Baker? Okay.
I think it was Troy Baker. Yeah.
You're right. So if they done that for him, both roles, I could have seen it. But because it was different voice actors and because the age was radically different between the two characters, it was pretty shocking to me. And my mind was blown, honestly. So I thought that was really impactful.
I've never played BioShock Infinite, and I'm telling you right now, my mind is blown. That actually makes me want to play it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say,
ahead,
so Ken
Ken
Levine, or Ken Levine, I don't remember how you pronounce his name.
Levine.
Yeah, Levine does these kind of amazing human stories into video games. And like System Shock 2, well worth playing if you have time to do it. BioShock 1. I'm gonna pull out a spoiler moment here. So spoiler moment for BioShock 1.
1 sec.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I'm reading what Wife Wolf just put. I'm sorry, we normally don't react with YouTube too much.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Wow.
I laughed at that too.
For those watching or listening to the podcast later, Wife Wolf says, yes, you're selling your daughter, but you'll be debt free. So worth it.
Followed up by a JK and laughing face. But yeah.
Yes. But okay. Anyway, BioShock 1. Okay, so spoiler warning in BioShock 1. There's a character that you're interacting with through the whole game via kind of your radio system. And he keeps using this phrase, hey, would you kindly do X, Y, and Z? Would you kindly do X, Y, and Z? And then, Ken Levine, that whole weird twist, Comstockish kind of twist at the end, it turns out that might have been actually a brainwash trigger word to get you to do what the bad guy wants.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you have that moment where you're talking with the bad guy, and then all of a sudden he says, would you kindly? And you kind of have these flashback moments, and you're like, okay, now I want to go back and play and listen to every single time he says, would you kindly?
Right.
Like, I want to put, get from A to Z and see if they broke it. And it's that Sixth Sense moment where you go back and you're like, I'm going to watch this movie and see if they broke their own rules. Right. So,
yeah. I remember that plot twist. I played BioShock 1. It's the only one out of the series that I played and finished. And I do remember the trigger word thing towards the end. And you're like, come on, like that's the whole time he was doing it the whole time, and and then you realize you like you said, you flash back to all the times you heard it, or it made you it pushed you towards the next mission or the next objective you needed to do, and you're like, this whole freaking time I was doing what he was telling me to do this whole goddamn time.
Yeah,
brilliant. It's brilliant. Great storytelling.
Okay.
Ken Levine. Anyway,
so I played through BioShock Infinite this week because I knew Jake was going to talk about it. and I wanted to experience this game firsthand because everybody has told me the BioShock games are great. I can skip 2. I got to play 1 and 3, right?
Yes.
So I've tried playing 1 in the past, but since Jake was specifically going to talk about 3 today, I was like, all right, I'm going to play it through Infinite, and I'm going to see what this is all about. I was so disappointed in this game.
Oh
no.
Now,
oh no.
I loved
you're
this
not
game.
wrong. Like the first hour of the game is full of just shock moments here and there between the racism and segregation and the awe-inspiring floating city and the intermingling of religion with politics and all this shit, right? It's constantly like, what the hell is going on here?
Mhm.
And as I started to go through the game, it started to really push the idea of multiple realities. Huge Sliders fan, so I was in, right?
Oh, I love sliders.
I was
talk.
for it. And I started to put these pieces together as I was going through the game, and I started to realize that certain characters had made appearances before I realized they made appearances.
Yes.
And
The brother
I
and
was
sister,
like,
right?
Yeah.
yes, the brother and
Uh-huh.
sister. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
okay, so we're starting to explain that. And then you jump from one reality to another. And I'm like, okay, but now you're in a new reality altogether, and the previous reality still exists. It's just you're not there anymore. So, like, all this history you have in that reality is gone. It doesn't matter to you now because you're not there. And then you do it again and again and again. And I'm like, every time we jump realities, it's feeling less impactful and less like the story going forward matters. So that's where I was. And then I got to the end, and just before they have you give the baby to the person who's saying, you know, give me the girl, wipe away the debt, I realized that the baby was Elizabeth.
Mhm.
And that's when I also realized what the marking on Booker's hand was. And so I was like, okay. So I do that. And I was like, well, this is kind of fucked up, but this isn't like, oh my goodness. And then then you go and you see the whole thing with the pinky finger. And I was like, okay, but we didn't have a huge moment with the pinky finger other than her mentioning wearing the thimble all fashionably, blah, blah, blah.
You
Like,
didn't notice earlier on
there
in the
was
game,
no,
though? When she's dancing and
no,
stuff?
I didn't.
I noticed it early on in the game when she's
No.
dancing, you see this metal thing in her finger, and you're like, what the hell? It's not a
And-
ring. Why does she have something on her finger? So I noticed it early on, and they never explain it until the end of the game, which is kind of weird.
So, like, the whole game is predicated on the idea that, you know, one decision can alter reality, right? It changes the entire world, big time.
Kind of.
with-
But
Yeah, that's what I'm about to get to. Hold on. So you have that big moment with the baptism where Booker either stays Booker and becomes the Booker you play him through as, or he becomes Comstock, this radical, religious zealot, greedy motherfucker, right?
Mhm.
Now, through the entire game, there's multiple points where you get to make a decision, and it has no impact on the story whatsoever outside of that moment.
Very limited.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Can I interject really quick?
okay.
The coin flips answer this question. Remember the
beginning of the
coin
game.
flips? Well, it happens
do.
a couple times. If I remember right, there's a couple times that they do the coin flips. And you notice that it's
No, there's-
always heads.
There's
Okay.
one time that the brother and sister do the coin flip with you.
Yeah.
And they said it's always heads. And there's like
Right.
122 tallies saying that it's been heads every other time.
And the point of that, as far as I kind of put together from the story, was even when you get choice, it doesn't change the result.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then why the fuck does it matter that he gets baptized or not?
So
It
it's
doesn't.
the variables.
That's
and
my
constants.
problem.
But it's variables and constants. That's what the idea of the game is. When they show you the series of lighthouses and how, yes, there's all these different choices and it splits into multiple universes, but there's certain things that are always constant. There's always a lighthouse. There's always a guy, a central figure, right? And then in this case, also, there's always a bad guy. Like there's certain central things that are fate and predetermined and never change, but the decisions around them split off. I agree with you. BioShock would be better as a movie or as a 4-hour game. right? The most action is in the
Yes,
first
this-
2 hours and the last hour. You're 100% right. But when she does the
This felt
splitting of dimensions, sorry, 1 sec. When she does the splitting of dimensions, it's not supposed to be a radical change. It's one small decision, separate universe, but everything that you've done has happened the same way in multiple realities. So I guess that's why it's not quite the Sliders drastic change in dimension, is I guess what the idea is.
Well,
I can see why I can see why it upset you. I can see it.
This game felt like a really long, bad Kevin
emphasis.
Lynch film. Is that his name? Kevin Lynch?
David Lynch.
David Lynch.
David Lynch.
David Lynch.
Okay.
Kevin Lynch.
Sorry,
Come on, man.
I'm sorry. I'm a
I'm
little
a big
scatterbrained
Twin
today.
Peaks fan, man.
Okay,
Come
hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
David Lynch.
Twin-
That's my.
Twin
I
Peaks
usually get his
spoiler.
name right. I messed it up for once, but yeah, this felt like a really long, drawn out, bad David Lynch story. That's how it felt to me.
And maybe
And
for me, I enjoyed the journey. Maybe that's because I loved the game front to back, and maybe that's the
A
difference.
lot of moments in the game were really cool. Like the fact that you get, the glimpses through tears where
Yeah.
you hear, Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. And
Yeah.
then as you're going through the game, you start to notice different songs. Like on the beach, I heard Girls Just Want to Have Fun playing on the music box or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? And I didn't register it right away. It clicked with me after a bit. And like you said, with the Beach Boys, and then, there's that other moment where through the tear, you hear that 60s rock song. I can't think of it. I know how it goes, but I can't think of the name right now. So there's all this stuff, right? And it's really cool. And they actually do explain that. They're not just
They
Easter
do.
eggs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's actually explained in the story as long as you listen to the recordings throughout the game.
Right.
And it's really neat how they do that. But again, like ultimately at the ending, I felt like the journey just was pointless.
Hmm.
I was really let down by BioShock Infinite.
The last few seconds of the ending, and for you watching the YouTube video, I think I did accidentally show that to you. I wasn't planning on it. But basically, you meet multiple Elizabeths at that baptism. And that when Booker says earlier on, we want to kill Comstock right from the beginning, go back to the cradle when he was born. Well, he was born at the baptism, and that's where the game ends. And the Elizabeths basically baptize you by drowning you. They drown you and it goes to black, and that's the freaking end of the game.
And all
So when
the
I-
Elizabeths disappeared.
And they disappear, basically showing that they've snuffed them out. But it just, that being the ending to the game was also a big WTF. I'm not gonna say I liked that part necessarily. I would have liked some kind of happier ending. But it was definitely
There's a lot of
wasn't
happy
looking-
endings in any of the BioShock games, to be honest with you, if I
Honestly,
remember
playing
right.
through this game, I didn't expect a happy ending. But I didn't expect an ending that left me. And this wasn't like a what the fuck? This was a what the fuck? Like, why did
But
I
it
play
still
through
matches
this?
with the WTF
It
moment.
does. It does.
That's
Yes.
it still fits within
I
the
was
criteria
so
of the discussion.
disappointed in this game. And then so this ruined things for me with BioShock 1 and the BioShock Infinite DLC, because afterward I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to play the DLC. So let me look up what the story of the DLC is. And I started reading through the story of the plot of the DLC. And I'm not going to get into it because we're not spoiling BioShock 1. We're spoiling BioShock Infinite. But as I read through that, it links to BioShock 1. So I was like, okay. So I went back and read the plot to BioShock 1. And I was like, the fuck is this? And I went and finished reading the plot to the DLC to Infinite. And then I was like, the fuck is this? Like,
So
I was just, I like the mechanics to BioShock. I don't like the story. It's so stupid.
I'm so the opposite. I hated the gameplay.
Yeah,
I
I'm the
love the
opposite.
story. It's
well,
crazy.
no, I liked it all. So I'm in the middle of both of
Okay.
you.
And I know
But I
nothing
think-
about it, so we balance the square out really fucking well right now. I think.
But I think we've bookended BioShock Infinite with Jake with the whole what the fuck, this is like, oh my god, my mind's blown. And we have Jimmy on the other side of what the fuck, this game's ass.
Yeah.
I'll take
It's
it.
not ass, but the ending felt like a total cop out, and like it really undermined a lot of points the game seemed like it was trying to make.
Yeah, it's
Fair.
not the
Interesting. I don't
commentary on
remember
racism that you might think it is in the beginning. it kind of goes off. It quickly loses that. In fact, one of the factions in the game that is fighting the dystopian government, right? Daisy Fitzroy, I think her name is, and the Vox Populi. When you get to that part, one of the mirror universes is they basically are winning, and she's as despotic as Comstock was. So they kind of flip it a little bit and saying that it doesn't matter. Whoever's in power in Columbia tends to be corrupt. And it's kind of odd there. There's a scene where she almost kills a child, and Elizabeth has to stab her. So I hear you in the middle part of the game, but I think the game is full of WTF moments, and I think it's fantastic. I like the game a lot.
Yeah. As did I.
I'll sit over here with you, Wolf. I don't know enough to. I'll back your play.
It had its moments, but I don't think this. I've heard this game talked up a lot in a lot of ways, and it was a total letdown. And I know this isn't a review of these games. This is, talking about the major moments, but even the ending didn't feel like that major kind of moment.
Right. I know BioShock 1 was met with really great reviews when it first came out, if I remember right. 2, not so much. 2 was kind of like, meh, they had kind of meh reviews for it. And then 3 came out and they were like, oh, it's better than 2 kind of thing. So I think that's where a lot of the talking up came from, because again, 2 was kind of a letdown to a lot of people from 1 being a really good game. And then 3 came back out and it was like a whole nother kind of spin. So they got you out of the underwater and you were doing a bunch of stuff in the sky instead. So it was kind of a refresh from what 2 kind of let everybody down with, which is why I think it was so well received when it first came out, because of the second one being kind of disappointing. So maybe that's why you got all the rave reviews about it, and not playing any of the other ones. If you had played maybe 1 and 2 and been like, yeah, 2 was meh, and then 3 came out and you're like, oh, look, it's kind of back to normal where it used to be, then maybe that's the experience that a lot of people were feeling about it.
Ken Levine was not involved in 2.
Okay,
and it very much became essentially just a shooter. I mean, it had some plot, but it was really much more of, hey, here's another FPS.
Right. 1's awesome. I'd still give 1 a shot. 1 was really good. I really enjoyed that. But I'm into that kind of weird, spacey mind control, but you don't know mind control kind of trope. I guess we'll call it that.
Werewolf, would you kindly play 1?
I'll probably still play through 1. I'm sure I'll enjoy the gameplay.
Oh, that one you'll enjoy.
Knowing the plot. So Infinite, I did enjoy the gameplay, like I said. And I enjoyed the story up to a point. There's probably 2 major twists in BioShock 1, and one of them I thought was cool. One of them I thought was totally stupid. So
Perfect.
There you go.
Well, there you go. That's how
I guess the story to BioShock in general just hits a spot for me where it's like really good and really bad simultaneously.
Well, it's about parallel dimensions.
It's a parallel universe.
Yeah, so there you go.
Mission accomplished.
It's totally on brand.
Good job, Ken Levine.
Well done. Yeah. Well done. You guys say Levine, and I keep thinking of Maroon 5. Well, my please don't can us, YouTube. So my I'll go off on mine now. We're gonna go with the first one. We'll go with you guys know that I'm pretty big in the Souls, and we played a lot of the the Dark Souls games, and we talked at. This is going to be the only time you hear me say the word Elden Ring, so I'm proud of myself. I've made it through another episode where I haven't talked incessantly about how amazing Elden Ring is. But within that vein, there's a little game called Sekiro. Sekiro is probably my favorite out of the entire grouping of the Soulsborne games. And Sekiro is pretty for the layman. It's a Souls game that's hard, where you play. I guess I want to say it right. You're a shinobi / ninja / protector of royal lines. You get to you can die a lot because the game's called Shadows Die Twice, but you can resurrect yourself, which part of the gameplay mechanics. It's a lot more agility based. It's a lot more parry based. So there's a lot of blocking, and fighting back without going completely offensive the whole time. And there's a lot of big boss fights that you get into, much similar to most of the Souls games. But there's one in particular boss fight, and those people that have played Sekiro or have watched people play Sekiro probably know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a boss that is later on in the game in the middle of a forest that is called the Great Ape. The Great Ape fight is a very difficult fight when you first start. There's a lot of mechanics to it where you have to whip yourself across and you have to strike at a certain distance. It's got a terrible AoE attack, and it's a big pain in the ass. So you fight this thing over and over. You die 400 freaking times trying to learn this mechanic on this boss. And then you finally figure out, you break the wall down. You notice whenever you fight a boss, the boss has a life bar, obviously, right? And most of the time it'll have a red dot next to it or 2 red dots next to it. A lot of these bosses have the ability to resurrect themselves. So you'll fight them once, you'll do basically a kill move on it, and then it dies. And then it'll resurrect, and you got to fight it a little bit more, and then you can kill it and be done with it. Well, this boss fight that Jake is repeatedly playing with my actual reaction to the fight.
It's like we're watching it live.
It is like you're watching it live. This boss fight, you kill. It gives you the shinobi execution has been accomplished. Then, without warning, it gets back up, has full health, and fights you again. It is awful. And then it carries its freaking head around in its hand, and uses a worse AoE attack to try and take you down. You have to kill it again with full health after all that time fighting it. And I'll tell you what, I was pretty damn proud of myself for beating it, as you can see by the look of my face, and then realizing that, oh, well, it's getting back up to fight me again, and the fight becomes just as hard. And then later you have to fight 2 of them at the same time. This was the biggest WTF moment in a game that I can recall that wasn't a horror game that I've played in the longest time. These bosses are difficult for noobs like myself at the time. And to make you feel like you've accomplished this great win after you've died hundreds of times to this boss, and you finally can, and it does the whole thing, the shinobi execution done, the whole text goes over, and you're sitting there relaxing in your chair that, oh my God, I did it. I got it done. Now we can kind of sit here and recoup, think about what we're going to do next. And not within 2 or 3 freaking seconds does the goddamn thing get back up and the life bar refills. And then it starts chasing you with the samurai sword that it removed from its neck to try and slice you in half. It is absolutely fucked. And it's a terrible boss fight. But it was one of the best, like, eye-opening moments in a game that I have played in quite a while. It's, as you can tell by my reaction, that should have been longer than 60 seconds.
It's that moment where you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm going to go get a snack. And you step off and you turn around and it's over there wrecking you because you stepped up to get a snack. Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't even time for me to go, okay, let's go ahead. And you could see me start panning around to see where to go next, and then it just gets right back up, and I am very, very vocal about it.
It's wild to me because you look at Elden Ring bosses, which is the Souls game I played the most probably. Usually when you kill a boss in Elden Ring, it's dead. Sekiro, like the fact that they give you all the fanfare that you won, and then they snatch it away from you and have it come back up, that's demoralizing, especially how brutal those bosses are. I can see getting like 1 or 2 shot after that and just wanting to throw your controller and quit. I would rage quit so bad with Sekiro if I played it. I don't think I can make it.
And they kind of did the, once you die from the second phase, you got to start over again. Obviously, it's right. Soulsborne, so you have to fight the first phase all over again.
Of course, it sucks.
But even after you kill it, you're like, okay, like you're sitting over its dead body with your sword. You're like, I'm not gonna fall for it this time. Are you dead this time? And of course it comes to life and you got to fight it all over again.
So this thing is the namesake of the game then, right?
Essentially, yeah, because shadows die twice. But like I said, the problem is that a lot of the big bosses you can see on the bar that there's red dots. You know, okay, I killed him once, the dot goes away, he's going to come back, he or she's going to come back, and then I'll have to fight a second phase of it. So it's basically like the Dark Souls and the Elden Ring phasing, where, you know, you get its life halfway down and then it changes and does something different that you have to then think about. This one didn't give you the opportunity. You thought you were one and done, and you're like, oh, okay, Thank God. Oh no, there's a whole other freaking phase I wasn't expecting. And the worst thing is that it throws you off entirely, because usually it could be like, okay, you're jumping in place. All right, what is he going to throw at me next? But you've relaxed. You've exhaled a sigh of relief. You're ready to move on to the next thing. And then you get a sword up your ass, and you're like, "What the hell just happened? I wasn't expecting that at all."
And
Sword in
Shadows
one
died
hand.
twice. Mind fucking blown. The bosses have more than one life. That's that just makes sense.
Most
to
of
me
them
now.
do. I should have been better prepared, honestly.
Wow.
The sword in one hand, its own head in the other, and it comes running after you.
Yep. And it's just like, and then it's screaming at you. It's like it'll stop and it'll scream at you, and
With
it does
its
like
head?
this. Yeah,
With
it'll like put its head on its body, and then it
Oh.
like shoots freaking blood and shit all over the place, and then you get obviously your status ailment effect on it if you're too close to it, and you're like, oh, I hate this fight. That was one of the harder fights I think in the entire game, to be honest with you.
I love that it jams its head back on to do an attack. That's
Yeah,
great.
it'll put it over its cut hole, because you can obviously its neck flapping around, and then it roars through the head, and it does this weird AoE attack. And if you're in it too long, you can see your life start doing this, and then you're like, oh, God damn it.
That's amazing.
Well,
So that's
when I die, I want to be able to do that.
Wolf's got the sword. We can just borrow his. So that's one of my favorite WTF moments in video game as of the last ones I've done.
That's a pretty good one.
It's jacked. Do we want to go round robin again, or do you want me to do my second one and then we can circle it back around to Sinistar and Jake and Wolf and kind of ship it out from that point on? How do you want to? Who wants to go next?
Pick.
Unless you want me to go a second time.
I'll go.
Okay.
Nope, Sinistar, you got it, babe.
All right. Okay. So my second game for this. Now, obviously, I mean, there are plenty of WTF moments in games. So we all kind of picked one or two. So Batman for me is number one. But my second, now, Jake, I want you to throw up both Portal and Portal 2, because
way ahead of you. The way you guys are going, trust me.
Okay.
I'm on the whole damn franchise.
All right.
Thank God there's only two games.
So once again, one of those moments where you wonder if the game has actually stuck to its own rules. In Portal 2, there's a point in the game where Gladys, the bad AI that's testing you, and if you're familiar with Portal, if you're not familiar with Portal, it's a series of tests, and basically you have a portal gun that you can create a hole here and a hole here, and you have to like either move yourself or something else through it to complete the each test. But there's a point where she tells you something, and then you complete the test. She basically tells you that this is an unbeatable test, and you beat the test. And she says, "Okay, I lied. It was to see how you react to this, to being lied to or being told that this was, unbeatable. I'm not going to lie to you from this point on." And she says at one point, and you think that it's a mistake in what she says. She says, "After these tests, you will be baked, and then there will be cake." And you think, you've been seeing these little, you kind of get into these areas outside of the tests for a little bit, and you see these lines written on the wall that are like, "The cake is a lie. The cake is a lie." Well, at least her statement, "You will be baked," is true. Because you think you're getting to the end of the game, and you think that you're done, and you're on a platform, and it's moving toward a corner. It turns the corner, and there's a big pit of flames, and it's moving you into this. And she's like, "This is the emancipation field," or something like that. We're done with you. This is the end. And you're like, "What the fuck do I do?"
Mm-hmm.
And I died once for sure, like trying to figure out what to do, because like you have a time limit, because this platform just moving into the fire. So I get back to going around, and you realize you can portal away from this platform and portal into a wall, and you can jump. And you realize after you then play the remainder of the game, that's essentially the halfway point. the end of what you think the game is pretty much the halfway point. And then the remainder of the game, you are attempting to subvert through all of the back behind these tests and get to the end. And in the end, and we're spoiling stuff. So in the end, you have to rip apart Gladys and throw her into essentially an incinerator.
Mhm.
But the WTF moment is, and I realized when I saw this, that you will be baked and then there will be cake. Because you're headed into this big fiery pit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not the kind of cake I want to eat, to be honest with you. Though I'm not a big fan of cake, anyways.
Now, funny enough, in the end credits, there is a cake. By the way, in the end credits,
I love call outs like things like that. Like they do the little snippet throughout it, and then there's the Easter egg of like either the cake at the end or the as you will you kindly and all that like kind of shit throughout the entire game. I love throwback stuff. That's why I like concept albums and stuff that replay certain parts of songs in the album that connect to another part of another album.
Right. Yeah,
I
when you
love
bookend.
that shit.
When you bookend.
I love that stuff.
Yeah. Real quick, I do, as I said, throw up Portal 2 because I do want to touch on Portal 2 just a little bit. Yep. When Portal 2 was announced and then when Portal 2 came out, I thought to myself, how do you supersede Portal 1? And they did. They absolutely did. And I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, but I'm going to say at one point, you use the moon as a portal.
Why not?
You literally shoot your portal gun at the moon. Like, yeah. So
that was pretty cool actually when that happens.
Well, and all of the Cave Johnson stuff and finding out the backstory to Gladys. I mean, all of these things are absolutely like Portal 2. It's really surprising I would say this thinking about it, but Portal 2 is a better game.
Better narratively and gameplay mechanics. Yeah. I like both of them, but 2 is a much more polished story to it than 1 by far.
But I mean, isn't that supposed to be the theory of like if you're going to not re-release, but if you're going to make a sequel to another game, in theory. Now, we all know that sometimes a 2 coming out doesn't necessarily mean better. BioShock 2, for instance. But I mean, if you've got the same team involved and the same people involved, let's take Half-Life. You guys may not agree with me, but I thought Half-Life 2 was obviously better than Half-Life 1 because of all the different mechanics and things that they did to it and added to the story. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Portal is of the same creators. The same people that did Half-Life and all that stuff.
It was actually a group that I think did initially it as a college project or like a smaller version as a college project, and then
it was
ended up getting picked up by Steam.
Right. So it was a senior project for a group of students at a school called DigiPen here in Washington. I think it's in Redwind.
Represent.
And it was called Narbacular Drop. And I've actually played through it. It was an interesting game. Portal definitely did it better, but after the people at Steam caught wind of Narbacular Drop, they basically hired the entire group of students to come make a game for them, and they ended up making Portal. So like that's really cool to me.
Yeah.
And then you can tell that they threw budget at Portal 2. And sometimes you get ruined by throwing budget. Like there's a reason that Ryan Reynolds never wants a big budget for Deadpool. There is, right? It will ruin that genre or that franchise. But in the case of Portal 2, you get J.K. Rowlands as, Cave Johnson. You get what's his name as Wheatley.
J.K. Simmons, you mean?
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Rowlands is the whole other movie.
Yeah. Right. You get
Daniel
Merchant. You get Merchant as Wheatley. You get Stephen Merchant.
Yeah, Stephen Merchant.
Yeah.
And you get a game that is probably maybe even 3 times as big. And has some fantastic co-op play after you complete the game.
I played through the entirety of the co-op with my kid while he was 7, I believe. So we managed
I imagine this playing on my Valve Index, and I'm gonna throw up.
Oh yeah, in VR, this game
I can't even.
would be weird.
I cannot function how we would play this on Valve Index. It seems insane. I always thought this game was just a really fun puzzle game. So I never got a lot of interest in it myself. I mean, it is essentially, but I was always like, if it's going to be on the Steam engine or whatever, it should kind of have that Half-Life feel to it. And so I never really gave it a shot until I watched one of my fellow streamers, Pierce, play it. Pierce, he does a speed run of Portal, and I watched him do it for a charity event, and I was like, this is cool as hell. I ain't get off my ass and give this a shot. So I gave Portal 1. I have not finished it, and I've played a little bit of it because I'm not as smart as I'd like to be, and I easily get turned around really easily in this freaking game. But I really enjoyed what I played. I was really impressed with it, and I like the callbacks, and I like the book ending of things. So that's a cool game.
Real quick, I have a video, and I may need to post it or publish it or something, but I played it on stream. I played Portal 1 on stream. I had already played through this, but it had been years since. And there's a point when you've completed the testing, you're back behind all the testing, you're trying to get your way out. And there's a point where there's a spinning fan, and I keep thinking to myself, I've got to stop the fan. I'm not thinking in Portal terms. So
I'm thinking one-dimensionally.
Yeah, so I end up getting a chair from the facility, carrying it with me, getting it up into this fan area, and I reach up and I put the chair up into the fan, and the chair gets picked up and just whips around and murders me.
Now that should have been your what the fuck moment.
Physics. How do those work?
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
That's the Half-Life 2.
I have that. I have that somewhere. So
We'll have to find that and put that on the Discord.
yes,
Now-
absolutely.
Yeah.
When you're trying to be all smart
People-
about it, it ends up killing you.
There's now, I'm assuming, Sinistar, you played Portal 1 before Portal 2 came out.
Oh, long before I played Portal
Okay.
1. I think I played it when I like Orange Box era,
Oh,
right? You
Okay,
remember the
so
Orange
yeah.
Box?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, at the end of Portal 1, after all the credits are said and done, you get a view of like you're out in the outside, you can see the field in the sky, right?
Uh-huh.
Couple weeks before Portal 2 came out, they updated Portal 1 to extend that scene. So that scene after that update, yeah, you get to see the sky and everything, and then you're getting dragged back into the facility.
oh shit! Wow.
Oh shit! I may have to go replay Portal 1.
And it's literally, they just added like 2-3 seconds. You just get dragged back toward the doorway of the facility that initially you're like, oh, I escaped, but they added that to where you're being dragged back in to
Okay,
explain
okay.
why Shell is back in the facility for Portal 2.
Mm.
I mean, if you know Portal 1 well enough, you can honestly beat it in about an hour. You really can.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I
Portal
It's a
2,
puzzle game.
Portal
right?
2
Once
you
you know
can't.
it, you know it.
Portal 2 you can't, because it has all of the under area that takes a
Yeah,
long,
it's like-
long time.
Even if you know what you're doing, it's still a pretty
Yeah.
chunky game.
chunky clunky.
But I think Portal 1 and Portal 2 should be on pretty much everybody's video game list, honestly.
Yes.
I really do.
If you haven't played it, play them. They're
Yeah, I'll
good.
definitely.
Yeah.
I might move it over. I don't remember if I
And-
have it on a console or not. I can't remember which.
And
one I
play them with the audio. Don't put on music and turn the volume
Right.
down.
No,
Right.
no.
Listen to the game and pay attention to what's being said.
Yep.
Yes.
First off, it's almost all hilarious.
Mhm.
Secondly, it all kind of leads to a greater moment in each game that's like, oh, aha, these things happen. So yes,
Nice.
definitely
And-
recommend these games.
And in Portal 1, Mike Patton does a voice of one of the Gladys
think I remember that, yeah.
nodules.
Yep.
He's the
Oh, nice.
he's the angry nodule. He's just the one that goes.
Yeah.
That's Mike
sounds,
Patton.
that sounds
Uh-huh.
like Patton. That's you could call that. Yeah, that grumbly guy. That's Mike Patton, definitely. He kind of has a signature speaking in tongues kind of thing, kind of like Jonathan Davis of Korn.
But yeah, Portal 1, Portal 2 really should be on everybody's list. Anyway, that's my other.
That's you. Wolf. What's your number 2?
Okay, so my number 2 is Last of Us.
Mhm.
So, I'm gonna try not to spoil any gigantic moments, but I will spoil a big moment and then another fun moment, and then I've got a small moment from Last of Us 2 that is not a big story heavy moment, but it's definitely what the fuck. So, playing through Last of Us, there's what the fuck moments throughout this game everywhere, but the really big one is when you're playing through and in trying to escape a building, Joel gets knocked down over a railing and falls on some rebar. Literally runs right through his abdomen. And you get this moment of like, he's stuck there and he's still fighting for his life, shooting people. And then Ellie comes running down and she's trying to help pick him up. And, she's what? A 13-year-old girl in this game or something?
Maybe in 12, 13, something.
Right.
She's little, and Joel's this big 200-pound dude, and she's trying to help get him up off this rebar, and you just see the struggle. And then she's trying to help carry him out of this building while people are still trying to kill them. And it's just, the things are getting blurry. Light is fading in and out. It's getting difficult to play. It's this huge moment that's just like, oh my God, this is wild. And then after all of that, it fades to black and then opens up in winter and you're playing as Ellie.
Yep.
This was just so wild to me.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I've had the intention of playing Last of Us. And the more people talk about it, the more I'm just going to be like, I'm going to take like 2 months off and just not do anything but play Last of Us. And just
it's not that long of a game. Last of Us 2 is a longer game. Last of Us 1 is probably 10 hours.
That's pretty common for what I
getting remade too, I think, actually.
Are they doing a remake of it?
They're doing The Last of Us Part 1, as they're calling it. And
it is.
It's basically Last of Us 2 or Last of Us 1 in Last of Us 2's engine.
So for me, I played this game and the clickers ruined it for me. And I ended up rage quitting because I talked to you about this when you were streaming it, Wolf, but
yeah,
I have a real struggle, and maybe it's my old ass, reaction times or whatever, but controllers and aiming and stuff just are not good for me. I have to really have a keyboard and mouse. And so I will say, honestly, if this comes to PC, I will absolutely play through it. What were you going to say?
So Last of Us Part 1 is coming to PC.
Yes.
Oh. The remake is coming to PC. I think 2 is also headed to PC. I'm not certain.
2 are in the PC? Or no, you're right. It is coming though.
They're PlayStation exclusive, I thought.
For now,
but
that's coming over.
I also want to mention that when I played through BioShock Infinite, I played it on my PS4.
Well, that's your problem right there, Wolf. It's in ultra.
No, and I still enjoyed the gameplay better than the story. All right,
it looks much better on PC.
It can look great, but you're still got a shit story wrapped in there somewhere.
The story is not fucking shit. Okay, this is. But the guy who's playing Star Ocean, don't give you this story is shit bullshit charge.
I did not choose Star Ocean. It was chosen for me. That's not fair.
You see how that story is after 90 fucking hours. BioShock Infinite is 10 hours and is a pretty damn good story. I admit not so good.
We know a lot about Star Ocean in the first 24 minutes. we know what's going on in the other games. That's
really going to open up at 100 minutes, man. Or 100 hours, man.
Don't worry.
It's going to open up.
It really opens up at 200 hours.
Anyway, so yeah, like aside from that moment, there's another moment that's just it's like this moment of pure joy, excitement, and awe in an otherwise very sad and hard to play game as far as the story you're being fed. And it's this moment where you're going through a college campus and a couple of giraffes just appear. And Ellie is so excited to see these giraffes. She's never seen giraffes before. And she's just blown away. And Joel's like, what are you? Because you don't get to see the giraffes right away. So she's like, oh my gosh. And she's taken off ahead of you. And as you go and catch up to her, you see that there's, like 5 giraffes or something. And it's just this really beautiful moment between them that was super cool to me. And
That seems like kind of what Last of Us really did well was hit those emotional highs and lows in a video game, right? Like, how often do you genuinely get moments of like happiness, or how often do you want to cry in a video game?
I was going to stream this at some point in October. I think I was going to try and make it one of my scary game streams. And one of my viewers was hanging out and he goes, are you going to play Last of Us? And I was, yeah, I was thinking about it. And he goes, yeah, I don't want to cry this month. So maybe not play that. And I was like, God, is it really?
It's hard
really
to watch.
Up and down. That's what I've been told. I've been told it's spectacular, but an emotional roller coaster as you play through it.
Like Wolf, when you're playing it, I was on stream. I was watching here and there.
Definitely.
It's hard for me to watch because it's so brutal and down and depressing. It's a great game. I want to play it someday, but that story is a powerful, just draining story. Like, it's hard for me to watch.
Yeah, and I love it because it takes the idea of something so common as the zombie apocalypse. We've seen it for decades, right?
Right.
And this is probably the most relatable, realistic version of that sort of thing. And I mean, calling a zombie apocalypse realistic is just silly. I know.
Sure.
But
it makes sense.
The reactions of the people and the way the world has grown to exist after this and everything, like that's, and honestly, the way they do the zombie apocalypse, where it's fungus, just like with those ants in South America or something, like. So it's very much, they tried to make this as realistic an experience as possible, where you can suspend your disbelief for all this awful apocalyptic nonsense. And then they repeatedly just gut punch you with sadness and despair and occasionally hope. But
Final Fantasy 6 over here.
I think this is probably a harder hitter than 6. I
yeah.
agree. I agree with the train of thought, but I mean, from what I'm getting, and again, from not playing it at all, it's all these little glimpses of reality of things that would make someone happy. Seeing the giraffes randomly out and about in this absolutely horrifying world that you live in, to see any kind of piece of joy, and then basically it's like watching this could be terrible. It's like watching a bunny run around in a field that's super cute, and you're like, oh, it's so cute, and then a hawk comes and fucking takes it and flies away. You know, and you're like,
it's kind of that.
What? And then you feel bad because you're like, oh, I should have done something about it. So it's that whole like, but you're powerless. You're powerless to stop these things, and you can escape the reality for a little while with a little, disconnect with something that brings you some kind of joy, but reality is always going to grab you and pull you right back into, no matter how good or bad things are going. And I think that's more relatable.
I told you I played this, and of course I quit because of the clickers, but I actually had to be convinced to play this. And the reason why is because I am so zombie tired. Like, I looked at it and I was like, another fucking zombie game, right? Like, and so, yeah, I had a coworker at the time who lent me his copy on PS4. And he's like, no, seriously, play this game. And sadly, I stopped because of the clickers and because, like, I suck at stealth and I suck at first person or third person with a controller. So I will probably give this a go when it comes to PC. Now,
The
thankfully,
TV
Wolf,
series will probably also be great for you too.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, it's
And I
supposed
did
to be
catch-
great.
Casting.
I did catch most of your streaming of it. So
I like the spin on the zombie apocalypse idea of this of the fungus thing, not the all these people died, they have a virus and they came back. It's not another Dead Rising 1 through
well,
3.
and making it
you
a
know.
person story, making it like
Right.
about the human condition
Exactly.
Yes.
in a zombie
Exactly.
apocalypse.
Zombies
Yeah,
are
that's
the
one of the
main
great
focus.
things
A lot better.
about this. Like,
It's the
there's the
humans.
moments of brutality in this game, right? But it's never brutality for brutality's sake. It's
To
always
survival.
brutality for survival.
Right.
And that's what really it makes it all believable. Now the second game brings in a little bit of brutality for brutality's sake. And
Yeah, there's a part
there's
I
a reason-
remember
and
when you streamed it.
this is the part I'm going to mention. So I'm not going to do any major spoilers for the game, but there's a moment where a character is hung by a noose. And she's literally just hanging there like for her life, holding on to the noose, trying not to suffocate, all this. And then someone a couple of kids come in. And by kids I mean what? They're probably 12 and 14 as well.
Yeah.
So we're doing that again. And they're trying to run away from the group of people that they live with. And because something they've done is perceived as against the will of their group of people. So someone large comes in and grabs one of them and is told to clip her wings. This large woman takes a sledgehammer and smashes just right here the upper arm with a sledgehammer of this young girl. And it's just like, holy fuck. And all this is happening at once. Like the other character is still hanging from the noose, trying not to die.
Oh my God.
It's
Much
the
at once.
visceral moment. When
like
I
very
watched
misery.
Really is.
when I watched Wolf play it, I was literally like,
It's
It's too
this
much.
moment was savagery overload, really. And honestly, it was all for a reason. I don't want to say it was just for brutality's sake, but a lot of the things in the second game are driven by more than survival.
yeah.
And this is one of those moments. It's not driven by survival, it's driven by something else. But it still fit with the narrative of the game. So, like I said, I don't want to spoil any parts of the story for Last of Us 2 because I know a lot more people haven't played that than the first one. So,
A little more recent too.
There's a lot of things that, and again, I've not played Last of Us 2, so this won't be a spoiler for anything. But what I'm getting is where it's the first one is brutality for survival's sake. This one is brutality to set a standard of what the world's like now, and these are the rules that we have to follow to survive. And though brutal and completely unimaginable in today's world, that's what they do. And it's all happening at once. It's like reality, just like you said, it's just a kick in the nuts, trying to like process all this crap happening at the same time, and this stuff's going on. It just, instead of being, it's said it's not for survival, it's to set a precedence. It's to set these rules will not be broken or you will get hurt or whatever the hell.
in this particular case,
ahead.
that is the case.
Right.
There are other moments of brutality for other reasons. There are a lot of moments for brutality in this game. The majority of them, I would say, are driven by revenge more than anything. But there are other moments that are driven by other things as well, rather than just survival. And survival does make it does rear its head numerous times in this game.
Right.
The first one to me felt very much like a story of the two main characters
Yes.
and the humanity of the two main characters surviving in this world. The second one felt more like Walking Dead to me.
Yeah, a little bit. And I believe we made jokes in the second one where we were calling it Last of Us 90210 at certain points.
Yes.
So, and that's not the whole game. I don't want to
Right.
deter people from playing it because there are moments that are very, teen drama, but
Yeah.
there are also a lot of moments of real humanity, and it still has those moments from Last of Us 1, but
Yeah.
it's the scope of the story is a lot smaller in Last of Us 2 than Last of Us 1.
Gotcha.
It's a lot more personal, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Right. Awesome. You guys have got me excited about even looking into like trying out more Portal stuff and both the Last of Us games. And now that they're
You
coming
should.
out for PC, I'm actually like really driven to give it a shot. And then I might play BioShock Infinite just so I can shit on something else that Jake.
Would
That's
would
everybody's
you
favorite
kindly?
pastime, apparently, in this show now.
No,
Just take Jake's favorite things, just grind him into the ground.
I enjoyed BioShock Infinite until about the last 2 hours.
It's
And
the
then
Wily Wars of BioShock.
it really went off the skylines at that point.
Oh, I see what you did there.
I'm Jake. Jake, I'm Team Jake on this one.
Yeah,
I'm Team Jake
at least
on this
Sinistar likes the game.
No.
It's okay.
All right. Well, we'll close it out with my last what the fuck moment. So this one's a little bit of a Sinistar. He's gonna love this. This one's a little bit of a left fielder. I know Wolf played this as well, but I don't know if you didn't finish this
I
particular
did not
run, did you?
finish it, but I saw the moment that you're going to talk about.
Okay. So there's a game out there that was requested of me to try, and then I went, you know what, I really want to give it a shot. And every October I try and stream a lot of scary games. Well, this last October I probably played the scariest game that I've ever played in my life. That goes by it's either called Visage or Visage. I don't know how you want to pronounce it. I call it Visage. I'm probably wrong because I'm not great at grammar. But Visage, we'll call it Visage too. Whatever. Jake looks like his eyes are going to cross with the way
Visage? I thought it was Visage.
Visage, Visage.
In-
It might be
in-
Visage.
in-
I've been calling it Visage.
In American English, it's Visage.
In America, Visage. Okay.
Visage. Visage. It's Visage.
Anyway, so this game is a game that's a first person. We were talking about it before the podcast started. This was based off of the Silent Hill PT engine. And if those of you who haven't played the Silent Hill PT engine, it was a game that was never released. And you want to talk about a hallway monitor
Hall
game.
monitor? Yeah.
It's a hall monitor game, but it is horrifying with the way it's set up. I left that Easter egg for you, Sinistar, so you can do whatever you want with that.
Well, real quick, I'm going to say then that you brought it up. For those, this is not a spoiler because PT was never released as a game, but go look up on YouTube. There's somebody that broke the camera in PT, and it's more terrifying.
It's horrifying. So the premise of this game is you are a character. The game starts out absolutely horrendous. You got a first person view of some guy shooting all these people in a chair. The game has 4 or 5 stories in it that you basically relive, and you have to try and survive through these people's stories in these very horrifying and tumultuous storylines that you're in. However, though this game is absolutely full of what the fuck moments, and was probably one of the only times that I almost broke down in tears on stream from getting scared so goddamn bad that I had to take a minute to recollect myself.
You know what's a great mechanism in a video game? A camera flash to see where you're going.
Oh my god. Yeah, so one of the spoiler, there's a whole area of the game where your only source of light in a pitch black room is a camera flash, and you have to utilize that. Yes, that's the kids one. I don't remember that one, but you have to flash the camera to walk through. Anyways, though this entire game is full of what the fuck moments, my favorites what the fuck moment in this entire game is the Dolores' story, the old lady story, where all of a sudden, after this whole thing with a baby and a fetus and a room that looked like a womb, you walk out of it and you walk into the kitchen, and the appliances are talking to one another. They're having a discussion about the old lady walking around the room, and talking about how she walks around naked and they're calling her horrible names. But there's a scene where the refrigerator tells all of the other appliances to shut up. He's trying to sleep. And then the freezer yells at him to say, you're always trying to sleep. You don't do much for this house anyways. And she goes, I got a real story to tell you. And the fridge calls the freezer a twat. Randomly. It says breathing, and you can actually see the look on my face throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
It is so absolutely random in a terrifying game that has literally had me white knuckling throughout the entire playthrough of this game, that the refrigerator calls the freezer a twat randomly. And they're talking like the four of us are talking right now.
Yes.
Just casually.
It's a casual
Yes.
conversation. Yeah.
And it makes no sense in the story other than I think it's just trying to reflect to you that the lady whose story you're reliving, I guess, is going insane. And the appliances are talking to her. And you're watching this happen. And they're laughing. So the doors are opening when they're laughing all together. It is out of my mind insane. I've never seen anything like this in a game of that's that scary.
There's two moments, and I kind of view it as A, trying to show that your character's going crazy, but B, maybe giving you like a moment of levity to like break this like absolute torrent of terror. There's two moments. There's twat fridge or twat freezer, and then there's Lucy rave.
There's a dance party. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There's so much. That game is very intense. It is. I have never been so on edge throughout an entire playthrough of a game as I did. Even Summer of '58 had its moments, but at least it was only 2 hours long. This game was probably 10 or 11, I think, that we had to play it. I did it in 3 days. With fairly long playthrough. I think there were like 4 to 5 hour playthroughs that we did it in. And you die. You could die in this game. You can mess up and have to start over at certain points. And there are puzzles throughout the game that you have to solve. And there's no moment in the game, the minute you start, other than Twat Fridge and Lucy Dance Party, there's no point in that game where you can feel yourself kind of go, all right, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to recollect myself, and then shit just hits the fan and something dives through a window, or you get grabbed by something, or there's writing on the wall that wasn't there before when you turn around. However, it is one of the best scary games I've ever played, but that whole game, other than the Twat Fridge, that whole game is nothing but WTF moments. And I would highly recommend, if you're into those kinds of games, to give that one a playthrough, but don't say I didn't warn you, because
Simstress and I watched another streamer play this the first time. And so we'd been through it, and we saw you play it. We saw Werewolf. We saw you play it. And I think we steered you to Dolores's chapter, which is where the Twat Freezer is. And yeah, when we were watching you guys, and I think we put it into chat, this is going to be great, or something, basically like, and yeah, Chard, I think when we were talking about this before the episode, like, you thought that we were talking about something that was going to be absolutely horrifying.
You're just waiting for me to start crying. I literally, but that's what I'm used to. The chat is the biggest bully on the block, right? So when someone's like, "Oh, I cannot wait for him to go into this room," and there's this whole area, and I'll describe the area for you. It's in Dolores's chapter, I believe. Where you walk into a black room. There's a lot of black rooms in this game. There's a lot of black rooms in this game, and this area is full of mirrors. They're big, giant, oval, very ordnate ordnate looking like mirror frames, and they're in a circle together, right? And you're walking around, and you can't see your character in the mirrors. So you're walking around this mirror. There's nowhere to go. Like, you don't know where to go in this entire area, because it's just, as far as the eye can see, it's just black, pitch black, except for the circle of mirrors. So I'm trying to talk to chat, and I'm trying not to look at the mirrors. I'll be honest with you. There was a lot of times where I was trying to look over here while I was searching around these mirrors. And there's a point where you'll circle around one circle of mirrors, and then there's Dolores in the mirror, but she's way, way, way back. So it's like a distance, like, so it looks like a doorway, like she's way behind you. And you turn around and nobody's there, and you turn back and it rushes at the mirror and it breaks. And I was so pent up from just finding anything in the mirror. And then there's that, it's like 2 seconds of like, oh, there she is. Oh, she's gone. Huh. Bam. And then you're like, oh. And I just had to sit there for a minute and recollect and think about all the things that I had ever done in my life and realize, was it worth it that I started playing this game at such a young age? And what else would I miss if I were to die playing this game? Because I thought I was going to have a goddamn heart attack after that one jump scare. That thing got me real good. And there's some stuff in the Lucy chapter that's equally as bad. But I think Dolores prepped me for Lucy a little bit better than the Raken story did going into Dolores's, because it's a rough play.
Lucy's the camera flash.
Lucy's the little girl one with her best friend.
That's such a horrible mechanism, the camera flash for your light source.
But it's so perfect. It sucks, but it is the best horror trope thing that you can possibly do in a game, because you walk around that room with all the chairs and stuff, and you're taking the picture and you don't see anything. And there's even a part I looked at chat and I took a picture and she was there, but I caught her out of the corner of my eye because I was reading chat. And I immediately looked over and went, oh, I don't want to press this again because I know she's there. And it's sure shit, I pressed it again and she's right there. And I shit my pants and ran like a little girl. That's where I think the running meme came from. That too. It's good. It's really good, and the whole game is a WTF. But the twat fridge was a pleasant surprise in the middle of such horrible shit going on the entire time. Twat freezer saved the day.
When you gave me clips for this game for the episode, I watched a clip and it was hysterical. And I said to myself, I thought this was a horror game. So I only seen the funny parts of this game. So it is absolutely a horror game. So if I do play this, I have to prepare myself. It's not all fun and laughs and giggles and twat fridges. It's actually
it is arguably the scariest horror game. It is arguably the scariest horror game.
This game had me on edge a lot.
Yeah.
And like Chard and I did an episode on horror games before, and I think before this, Alien Isolation was the most stressful horror game I'd ever played.
Same.
And then
we both played Visage right after we did that episode. You and I did our run through of it, because I think we mildly mentioned it. We both played Summer 58, and then I was going to play Alien next, but then we did Visage first, and you were like, yeah, we were going to play that as well. And so you and I were kind of playing at the same time. Man, we should do a whole episode of that goddamn show.
I'll have to finish it first.
Awful.
But
man.
I had a lot of fun with what I was playing, even though I loved it and I hated it the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. When I was trying to figure out, because for some odd reason, I know you and Sinistress clipped the twat freezer thing, but I cannot find the clip to save my life. I don't know what happened to it. Twitch ate it. But so I'm listening through it to try and figure out. So I'm at work and I have it on my earphones, and I'm like, no wonder you guys thought this shit was so funny, because I can literally hear the urine on my chair as I'm scaring myself to death playing this stupid game for your guys' entertainment. This was not fun to me. But at the end of it, I was like, I'm so happy I played it, because it's such a good game. It is so well designed in the psychological horror set that it's not just about jump scares and shit. It is just, Wolf and I talked about it on that horror game episode, where soundscapes are an important addition to making a game just as terrifying, other than ugly, brutally disgusting creatures or weird environments or loud noises. This game sets you up with the soundscape, just like Alien Isolation did, where it's you don't want to move. You are so frozen, just holding your keyboard and mouse or controller, whatever you're playing on, and you're staring at the screen like, I don't want to go in there. And it's a fucking computer game. It's not like you're going out to the kitchen to go get a glass of milk or something. You're playing a game that at any point you'd be like, nope, I'm turn it off and walk out. but you can't leave. You're like you're glued to this thing, and
You're repeatedly
did that for
choosing
me.
poorly.
yeah, exactly. I just keep content. For 10 hours, I chose very poorly. But man, it was so much fun. It's when I look back at it, I go, I might have to do that one again because that's how much fun we have with it.
I used to do Scary Saturdays, and I've watched a lot of scary streams. And honestly, as I said, arguably the scariest game. And for me, I don't think I've seen one scarier. I don't think I have.
I have a hard time. I haven't played one scare. I'm sure there's worse games out there, but I haven't seen anything top that. We're gonna try Outlast, I think, this October, which I hear is pretty equal to that. And see how it goes. But I was always a guy like, you got to give me a weapon to survive whatever horror fest I'm going into. And 58 and Visage did not do that, or Visage didn't do that. You just had to make it through. So now I was always afraid to play Outlast because of that mechanic of like, you just have to survive and hide. But now I feel like I'm prepared. That was why I was like, hey, Alien Isolation, you get a flamethrower. Okay, cool. And a gun. Cool. It doesn't help you at all, but you still have them. I mean, the flamethrower does, but the gun is completely useless if you ask me.
I'm going to cuddle this flamethrower. For
you know what?
Teddy bear, really.
Any kind of, I'll just take this with me and hope to God it does something good for me.
Yeah.
But no. So I'll be able to make my rating on Outlast compared to Visage by the end of the year.
There are a couple really good moments in Outlast, and I look forward to watching you stream this.
Fantastic.
Okay, so Jake said he only has one game. So I would like to throw in an honorable mention. And that would be Resident Evil 7 and 8.
Yeah.
But yes. This is not one moment.
Yeah.
Many moments.
For those listening on the podcast later, I pointed at my hand.
You'll know why. Oh my God. I'm so happy you brought this up. This is one of my favorites. I can't believe I didn't think about this.
I believe when I was playing through Resident Evil 8, I titled one of my streams, like I called the game Resident Evil 8 subtitle Poor Ethan's Hand.
Yes.
Because in Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8, there are plenty of what the fuck moments. The biggest one is every time something terrible happens to Ethan's hand. And I'm just going to talk about the first one in Resident Evil 7 because it's maybe like
I'll tell you,
30,
I'll take 8 then. I'm fine. 8 got me good. But yeah, go ahead.
It's like 30-40 minutes in, so it's really early in 7. Ethan straight up just gets his hand chopped off with a fucking chainsaw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He puts his hand up to block the chainsaw hitting him, and it zoom, and then his hand is just gone.
But then what happens after that?
He fixes it.
Well, he has the magic hand juice.
Yeah, the juice, the heal juice, which, you know what? When I saw that happen and then he wakes up and it's just stapled on, I was like, yeah, it was a hand juice. Like, it's sure. No, that's fine. Like, that's totally understandable. He fucking puts the juice on and his hand is 100% healed.
That's I love how it goes on, though. He's missing fingers. There's bandages. There's like...
That's on 8. So can I go, Wolf? Are you done with your? Is there anywhere you want to add to something?
Go ahead. I just wanted to mention that because that was a big moment. And actually, I want to share an experience my brother had playing this. So my brother and his buddy were playing this in VR on the PS4 back when.
Oh man!
And this was their first time playing it. And it was my brother's friend who was the one playing. And he is a tall guy. He is 6'8". And when the chainsaw came at him, it scared him so much. It jerked him back so much. He actually fell down. He fell on his ass playing this in VR.
I love VR.
Getting his hand chopped off.
Oh, man. So let's take this into the next episode of Poor Ethan's Hand. Yes. Or how or the 5-finger discount, 3-finger discount. So there's a scene, which I believe you have it up here, where Ethan he falls, he goes into the village, and he's like in some Romanian ass village or some shit. And there's this guy, this old man's like freaking out. He's like, oh, and you hear like wolves and stuff screeching and hollering and whatnot. And this old man's like, do you have a gun? And he gives him the gun. And then the old man gets ripped away and he disappears. And you're like, well, that guy's fucking dead. And then you fall into the house underneath where there is a mountain of dead bodies in this house. And you go through it and you're trying to get out. And then the next thing you know, there's something over in the corner chewing on something. Well, it's a werewolf guy. And he lunges at you and he takes a chunk of your freaking hand with him. These two fingers gone, right? They're gone. They're not coming back. So you take your goddamn, you're a wizard, Harry. It's Hagrid. So I'm sorry. So he wraps his hand up in a towel or whatever, and that's it. And he's good. First aid on the spot. He's ready to rock.
Yeah.
Hand juice
on it.
And a bandage.
Good that you got the hand. Wow. For those of you visual, we're applying hand juice in a very provocative way. So the game progresses, and so you get a picture of his hand all fucking gnarled up like that. So the game progresses.
Through the game missing his pinky and ring finger.
Yeah, but he's still a hell of a shot. Just saying, he's still got his trigger finger. That's all you need. So he goes through the game, and you go into Lady Dimitrescu's house, which I totally tried to pronounce that properly. I hope I did. Which is Big Booty Vampire Lady. That's what everybody refers to her as. So you'll know what I'm talking about if you don't know her name specifically. Sorry,
Stompy Mama.
Stompy Mama, yes.
Mommy.
Step on me, mommy.
You've probably seen more mods than the actual game skin that's in the game.
Pretty
Let's
good
be
mods
honest, on YouTube.
Thank you,
Go
Nexus.
YouTube. So you go into the game and there's a section where you're basically being hunted. I'll try not to spoil too much, but she's hunting you. She's trying to find you. And you look like you duck her and you're like in her cellar or whatever, and you find what appears to be a gate to get out, but it has like one of the little pull down triggers, right? So you run over, you press action, your hand grabs the thing to pull it down, and this fucking blade comes down and literally cuts your entire fucking arm off, and it's just hanging there onto the trigger. And you look over, and she's there with these big fucking claws, and she says some kind of witty remark or whatever, and you fucking scoop up your hand with your other arm.
Yeah,
and you
I
go
love that the
fucking
hand
running.
stays on the lever.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and
It
it's
just
just
stays
hanging there.
holding on to the lever, and so you can run around. You have to go back and collect it before you can activate the lever. It's great.
So you duck her, you bob and weave and juke her out of her boots. You grab your arm, and you run over and you get up to an elevator. So you start riding up the fucking elevator, and you look at your hand. You put up your nub and you literally shove it back onto your arm. You twist it for good measure because apparently your bones screw in. They're threaded.
That's how it works.
Right?
Biology.
And then you take the juice.
The hand juice.
You apply the hand juice. And then he starts moving his hand like this. And it's all fucking back to normal
Yep.
again.
Yeah.
Now, the WTF moment in that game is way later. We will not spoil it for you. But
Right.
all of that's just so comical.
You missed a
throughout
hand
playing it.
moment.
Huh?
Early on, you missed a hand moment.
Oh, hit me
when
with the hand moment.
Ethan
That's
is
the one I remember.
initially caught after escaping the first trap that he's set in.
Mm.
And Dimitrescu takes him and they string him up in her quarters
Oh, yeah.
where he is hung by hooks through
Right,
his
that's
hand.
right. That's right.
And he literally rips his
Oh,
hand
you're that's the
off
part.
the fucking hooks.
I purposely blocked that out. I don't want to think
Oh,
about how he
so
removed
bad.
himself
This-
from those hooks.
Like there's a reason I call this game Poor Ethan's Hands.
yeah. He is not a hand model he is not David Duchovny in Zoolander by any stretch of the imagination.
All right.
The
well, I have an
image of him
honorable
doing this to
mention.
his fingers,
Oh,
as if there's any feeling possibly left in those nerves.
Mhm.
Don't need them. They still
Nope.
work. I don't have to feel anything. I just know that they work.
Oh my god, the video! I can't look.
Well, I have an honorable mention.
Yeah.
That's a very simple honorable mention, and I'm giving a huge spoiler because nobody knows this. Samus is a girl.
Yeah. Thank you. Good night, everybody. We won't ruin any more stuff for you guys. So,
That was good.
wow. those are some great moments, guys. Honest to God, there's a lot of stuff that I wasn't expecting to hear. And Jake, you're complaining about not doing any of your fucking homework. I'll tell you what, I had no idea what you guys were talking about during BioShock, and that was completely because I didn't apparently do any of my goddamn homework. So that was my fault.
To be fair, this is a game I've been told I should play for years, so I finally
Fair.
played it.
Fair.
Well, I'm sorry that it didn't live up to the hype. I loved it, but I also played it. I actually pre-release bought it and played it like the day it was released.
I honestly suspect that had we recorded this before I played it, I would have been even more disappointed in the game than I already was. So
Wow.
I'm glad I played through it before we recorded this.
BioShock, Wily Wars.
Or Jake's heart.
I'm
Forget
sorry,
Ethan's
Jake.
hand.
Like, it has a lot of cool stuff going on.
Jake's gonna take a
Ending.
weekend off just so we don't have to
Yes.
listen to us fucking give him shit anymore.
Going to
I think
therapy 'cause you
Jake's gonna
fuckers.
move.
Jesus.
I think Jake's gonna move. He's out.
Yeah, you know,
Leave
We're all
you're
fired.
like your shelves look a little bare back there, buddy. Packing up. Press B to vacate. Guys, I want to thank you all for allowing me to host this wonderful episode. This was cool. I like to hear everybody's kind of reactions to the WTF moments and the OMGs and to share the stories with you guys has been really cool.
There are so many examples. I have more. If we did a follow-up to this, however long down the road, like there are some moments like Dead Space, like, stuff
Dead
like
Space,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I'm happy to like even make this kind of a series, like, over time, right?
I have no qualms with that. This was a great episode, and I enjoyed the
this is
discussion that everybody had.
This was fun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I shit all over your choice, Jake. I didn't want
No,
to.
you're not.
It's just
No, you're
how it
not.
played out. No, I literally am. I'm sad that I was disappointed in the game.
Circus
I am.
Charlie will rise again.
Tell you. Tell you.
Wow. OMG.
Especially, like,
Shit on
I
Jake's
love
game.
steampunk stuff. Like, this game had so many things that I should have made it a real winner to me, and ultimately it was not.
Wow.
Well, I do want to call out really quick. We've had people chatting in YouTube. For those that are listening to this podcast later, we do these on Fridays on YouTube. And Sinstress, my brother, I think this is your mom, Werewolf. Novi's had a lot of comments. Thank you, Cthulhu's Jeff. I mean, everybody's been here. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the chat. Sorry we didn't interact with chat as much as we could have, but thank you for being here.
Word. Let's go ahead and go around the table, guys. Sick Jake, where can they find you if not on Press B getting your favorite games completely tossed? Where can they find
you
you?
can find me on Twitter, SICJAKE, and I'd like to announce my new one-man show, Jake Plays Good Games and Only Fucking Good Games and Only His Voice Matters show, launching in the near future. Thank
Now
you.
that's a WTF moment.
Yeah.
And Sinistar, where can they find you, sir?
So I do stream now most Mondays on Twitch again, Sinistar77. Otherwise, I'm here, and I'm also on Twitter as well.
And Werewolf, and where can they find your shiny smiley face?
Here, and I have not yet. I've recorded an episode to put up on YouTube. I'm going to start doing my homework for the podcast and putting it up on YouTube. So unless I got to rush through a game in like a week like I did with BioShock, in which case it's not going to be there. But yeah, WAREWULFF. Search it on Google. Tell it you meant it. You'll find me.
Beautiful. And you can find me on Twitch, www.twitch.tv/Chardmonk, Twitter, Instagram, and of course with my wonderful friends here on Press B to Cancel, if Jake doesn't fire me after this episode. Guys, thank you everybody for coming and hanging out, everybody in chat, and all the listeners that will be listening to this in the future. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will gladly catch you guys soon. Next Friday.
Thank you all for listening.
We're going to get a robot voice there, or did we?
Sephiroth kills Eris.
What the fuck?
Good night, everybody.
Good night.